Hello and welcome to Freedom Frontline. Hope you guys are having a good day. We are here, Ariana and I, with our guest, Tim Pierce. And so we are excited about this episode. And one of the things that we had discussed and talked about in our first episode was about having on men and women that were going to be running for office. And so we have with us today Tim. But before we get to Tim, Ariana, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about y'all?
We're
fine, thank you.
We're doing good. It's been a little while since our first episode, and but man, things are going good. And I want to say thank you to all of you that have subscribed to the channel, Facebook page, and it's growing. And so the message is getting out. And so I want to say, before we get started into with Tim, I want to first say thank you to all of you for sharing and helping us get out our message. And so that's always important. So Ariana, anything new going on in your world?
Oh, anything new? I'm ready for spring, right around the corner. This warm weather has been wonderful. I'm looking forward to all these elections going on. There's been a lot to talk about, and hopefully we will get into some of those topics today.
Good. Tomorrow's the 1st. Yes. And we have just 31 days before election. And so, Tim, it's good to have Tim with us. Tim was running for mayor of Long Beach. And so, Tim, thanks for coming on the show. Sure. And thanks for coming on. But tell us a little bit about yourself. And because I know that our audience and, of course, the people of Long Beach, most of them know you. But maybe there's a few people out there that doesn't know who Tim Pierce is. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Tim.
Sure. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
So I'm a long life resident of Long Beach, Mississippi. I'm married to my wife, Tina, my beautiful wife, Tina. We've got married for 34 years. We've got 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. I have 6 grandkids. Like I said, we love Long Beach, and I want to continue to serve the people of Long Beach. So I guess some of my background that I would want you to know is I'm a graduate of the Long Beach School District. I went on to college at USM Gulf Park, got my BS degree in business. That same year, I took a job out at NASA in 1984, actually in IT. We rewrote a manual card reading financial system, and we automated that system. So I was in all the process of going through the automation of NASA Stennis Space Center's financial system. I did that for a while, and once we finished the automation of the system and NASA took over the system, they asked me to come over from a contracting standpoint to NASA to be the systems accountant for that system, to carry it on through when we had to do updates and things of that nature. So I did that for a while. And then I moved in the chief financials office, and that's where I became the integration manager for NASA's yearly budget. And they usually went around $250, $300 million a year. Wow. Budgets. So I oversaw those, and I integrated the budgets and created the budget execution so that we could monitor how we're doing, how we spend our money, and making sure we're spending it correctly. Did that for a while, for probably almost 10 years. And then I moved into center operations. And for those of you who may or may not know about Stennis, it's a big city. We've got about 5,000 employees, probably 45 to 50 tenants. So imagine a city out there by itself, and you have all the services and things that you would expect in a city. Well, you have it at Stennis Space Center. So when I moved into center operations, I became the deputy chief of center services. So it was my job to assure that we had budget, we had an executable operating plan, and that met the needs of our tenants. So I did that for a while, and then the next thing I moved into became the labor relations officer for Stennis Space Center. And that job kind of entailed where I interacted between the unions at Stennis Space Center and our center director. So I kept my center director up to date on any possible issues as it pertains to a possible strike. And I had a couple of them that went on during my tenure. So next I moved into, took the next job as the chief of the planning and development for Stennis Space Center. So and our job was really to the nuts and bolts of the center. So I was over real property, we did master planning, and I was the master planner for Stennis Space Center for 9 years. I created the current master plan that Stennis goes by. And then I moved into the management part of it. And then so I had I guess a group of about 10 or 15 that we managed the agreements with all 50 tenants. We made sure that we charged appropriately for the services that we gave our tenants. And we produced a master plan and assured that the center was moving towards its goal. And so I did that. And then for a time period when I was with NASA, I was legislative affairs. I had Myron Webb, which was well known for Stennis Space Center. She retired. I took over that position of legislative affairs. So I had interaction with delegates from D.C. Down to the state level, the governor, different congressmen and senators, local as well as national. And so that was it was a good career. I really enjoyed it. So in January 11th of this year, I had decided that I'm 65 years old, and I decided that I was going to retire. Oh, let me go back one thing. One thing I left out in the things that I've done. Back in '93 to 2001, I was a city alderman for Long Beach, and I was really the one who helped to assure that the budgets were maintained and we kept within our limits and tried to keep the city in the black. And did a lot of strategic thinking back then as far as the direction of the city of Long Beach. And so after my 8th year, that's about the time I had finished developing the financial system for NASA, my group, and I became a NASA employee. I could no longer run for public office because of the Hatch Act. So when that transition happened, I wanted to stay involved in Long Beach because I love Long Beach. So I was appointed to the school board. And this is back in 2005. And I've been on the school board for the last 20 years for the city limits of Long Beach, for the city of Long Beach. And the last 8 years, I've been the school board president. And so it's been a very rewarding career. Wouldn't have changed anything. I wouldn't have thought I would have been able to do the things that I have done. And so the Lord's been good to me, and I really enjoy. So what I want to do is, since I retired in January, I wanted to continue to give back to the city. So I thought long and hard about running for mayor. The wife said, no, that's not in our game plan. And I said, okay. I said, I got to have you behind me or I won't run for mayor because it's going to take both of us. So after a couple of months of other people trying to convince her, she came back and she said, okay, Tim, I'm behind you. We're going to do this and we're going to do it to the best we can. So that's when I retired January 11th and then started my campaign on January 13th towards my race for mayor of the city of Long Beach. So
Tim,
that's where I'm at today.
Let me say this before Ariana starts asking some questions, because we got some questions that we want to ask. Everything you just laid out that you did for NASA, I'm sitting here thinking about what a mayor does, or should be doing, for their city, and everything you just laid out for NASA, you've been acting as the mayor of NASA. I mean, pretty much. And so because that's exactly what mayors are to be doing in their city,
Right.
Making sure that things are happening, making sure things are getting done, working with, trying to draw, businesses, to the city. That's exactly what mayors should be doing. And so it sounds to me, just from the research and listening to you talk today, and of course I've read a lot about you, it seems that you have very good experience, for the job. You've already been doing a lot of this at NASA, and now, a lot of people, when they move into a new role, it takes a little while to get that experience, as a mayor, but you've never been a mayor before, but you have the experience of what a mayor, should be or would be doing for a city. And so I think that's really good. Whenever you're looking at, voting for somebody, one of the things that I want to look at, is their resume. What's on the resume? What have they done? Have they been successful? I want to look at those type of things because that's what we need. That's what cities need, especially along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. You need men and women in office who are going to thrive and who's going to be working to make sure that businesses are growing and that the people are the needs of the people are being met. And so that's really what you need. I wanted to say that before Ariana got into questions.
Okay.
And so,
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. My first question was going to be, from your NASA Stennis Space Center experience, you had a lot of different roles. How do you think your experience there can help you, and what qualities have you gained to help you be the mayor of Long Beach?
Yeah, and Dan hit on some of them. When I talk about the federal city, it is a city within itself. And when I was over facility services, when I was a deputy of center services, that's exactly what I was in charge of, making sure the federal city ran smooth and that the tenants were getting a return on their investment. So we were very cautious as to how we spent dollars, because over the years, the federal budget had been cut. And so we were doing more with less, per se. So we had to get smart about how we did it. And so that kind of helped me to really understand the inner workings of a budget and the execution plans, and really making sure we were getting a return on every dollar we spent. So I spent a lot of time working those kind of avenues. And then when I moved into the plan development, then comes we did the 10-year plans and 20-year plans for Stennis, where we identified things that we thought we were going to need, and we ranked them based on their risk categories. As to, with limited dollars, we had to make sure we spent it the right way. And so I'm programmed to think that way, and I think that's something that a city like Long Beach, which is basically a bedroom community. I love the city. It is a large bedroom community, but a lot of bedrooms communities help to fund things with the business space that comes with a large bedroom community. We're missing the business space side in Long Beach. And so that's something that when I was with Stennis Space Center, I was in the strategic business group. And while I was there, we created the first industrial park for Stennis Space Center. And it was the same concept. We knew we were moving into a different direction after the shuttle went down. When we stopped the shuttle program, there was a lull. So we had to repurpose a lot of buildings in order to survive. And so I spent a lot of time in the strategic group going after business. And we brought in a couple of commercial space launch systems to Stennis Space Center, Rocket Lab, and Relativity Space. And that was a way that we were able to diversify and be good at many things, so that when we had down times, we could survive. And so that's kind of my background as to what I think I can bring to this city, and to help build the business base here in Long Beach. And it's not going to be easy. It's not easy. We're fighting a lot of things that kind of deter from us from growing business wise. And I think a lot of you people listening today that come down the Gulf Coast, when you cross that Bay St. Louis Bridge and you come into beautiful Pass Christian, and the next thing you know, you're in Gulfport. You realize we need to really change the front door to the city of Long Beach, and that includes the rehabilitation of our harbor, which still looks like a hurricane came through last year, and is still damaged. We've got a beautiful pier that I used to fish on when I was a kid. I used to fish at the harbor. I used to fish at the pier, and that's what makes Long Beach. So I think if we really work on the front door to our city, and when those people from out of town are riding through on Highway 90, they realize there's a city, Long Beach, and it's a pretty good place to live. And so that's some of the reasons why I think a lot of what I've done at NASA is going to help me to do these things to help Long Beach move forward.
when I was 12, we lived in Gulfport. I was born by Mayoral Hospital in Gulfport, and so right there in the beginning of my life, I lived in Gulfport till I was 12, and then when I was 12 years old, we moved to Long Beach, and so we lived on La Rosa Road, 209 La Rosa Road. Matter of fact, there used to be a Winn-Dixie at the end of La Rosa Road. Funny story: when I was a teenager, I was like 13 years old. I was walking to Winn-Dixie, and as I was walking to Winn-Dixie, I was kicking rocks. And I was in the parking lot, and I was kicking rocks, and I kicked this rock, and it bounced perfectly and went up and shattered this windshield on this car. I mean, this rock hit it perfect.
Right.
So my intent in the beginning, my first thoughts were, Nobody saw, run, nobody saw. And my brother was with me. My brother was like, nobody saw us. Let's go. Let's get back home as quick as we can. And so, but then, long story short, I did go in and tell the lady, hey, look, I just busted your windshield, of your car. And so, but I remember walking down, Jeff Davis, walking to the harbor to go fishing, as a kid myself, as a teenager. And so I think you're right. I think that whenever people drive through, they need to see a beautiful harbor. And I mean, I love eating at Harbor View, the restaurant.
I love that restaurant.
No, me too. It's one of my favorite. They have the best, I hate to say this on air, but they have the best gumbo.
Yes,
Dude, their seafood gumbo is amazing. And so there's been many times whenever I have a visiting preacher in town, I want to take them to get good seafood, I will call. And I'm like, do y'all have your seafood gumbo today?
Yes.
And because if they don't, if they don't have their seafood gumbo, there's a good chance I might go somewhere where they have seafood gumbo for the day. But I always call them first.
Right.
Because they have the best seafood gumbo. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's just good. And so if you do visit, when you do visit the coast, you have to go to Harbor View there in Long Beach.
That's a great place.
So, but I'm with you. I think that there needs to be some work on that harbor.
Yes.
And on those piers, and to get things, and they're working on the harbor now, but I mean, there's still a lot that needs to be done.
Yes, there is a lot to do.
To bring businesses, to that area, because that's a beautiful area.
It's very pretty. And Dan, I remember back, because I've lived here since '63, that prior to Katrina, people don't realize it because we have a lot of new people coming to Long Beach, as yourself.
Yep.
And there wasn't an empty lot on Highway 90. We had big homes. And on Jeff Davis, there wasn't an empty lot on Jeff Davis. We had businesses from one end to the other.
What was that restaurant right there on the beach? Was it called Chappie's?
Chappie's, yes.
Chappie's.
And, I'm talking to Chappie. He's thinking about possibly coming back to Long Beach if we can find him a location.
So I remember that having that glass in the front.
Yes.
And then there would be a guy on that big baby grand piano playing the piano. I didn't get to eat there a whole lot, but because.
Well, did you remember the dessert cart that used to come around?
I remember a dessert. I don't remember the cart.
Right.
But I remember the dessert. It was a great place to eat.
It was.
Beautiful, great atmosphere. Great atmosphere.
Well, and I've worked since I was 12 years old and right around Long Beach. And, at one time, the city supported 4 grocery stores. And today, we just lost Winn-Dixie.
We just lost one, yeah.
Just lost Winn-Dixie. And as I was going around, because I like to get out and introduce myself to my constituents. And I hear a lot about people that said, hey, we need more opportunities at like grocery stores in our city. And I feel the same. So that's going to be one of the main things I really try to push is to maybe bring some groceries, a grocery store into Long Beach so that we don't have to drive to past Christian or Gulfport and spend our hard-earned dollars in other cities.
Yeah, there's a Walmart in Pass.
Yes.
Right on Highway 90.
Yeah, and all I hear is bad things about people are tired of shopping at Walmart.
I try to avoid it when I can.
But there's no other options in Long Beach, so that's something I'm going to really work on. And I've had preliminary discussions with one of the grocery store chains.
Good.
I won't say who it is because I really want to work on it hard and try to bring it to Long Beach, and
Good.
I don't want to mess it up.
Good. I remember going when I was a kid, Dr. Edrington. That was my eye doctor, and then I worked for his son, Kurt, cutting grass, whenever I was a teenager. And so before I went to college, I always cut grass in the summer. And so I've got a lot of good memories, a lot of great memories of Long Beach. And I was just there yesterday. My son had his first track meet. So I was at Long Beach yesterday. And my son, was running in the track. He ran the 3,200. Which is 2 miles.
Wow.
And I have to say this, I had to put a plug in for my daughter too. And Quitman did very well in his track meet. I think he came in the top, in the top 5. He did very well. I think there was 20 different. But my daughter, she's in 8th grade, and she ran her first track meet the other day at West Harrison. She ran the 3,200. She came in first place.
Oh, wow.
And she ran it in 14 minutes.
Wow.
Which is great for her first track meet ever. Then she ran right after that. It was a 3,200. Then she ran the 1,600, which was a mile. She ran it in 6 minutes.
Oh, my.
A little over 6 minutes, and she came in first place. And the 1,600 and the 3,200, they had boys and girls running at the same time.
Oh.
She was not competing against the guys. She was only competing against the girls.
Right.
She smoked like 11 of the guys
Right.
in the 1,600 and the 3,200. Like, she smoked them.
Wow.
And then right after that, she ran the 800. And then she ran a 4x8. And so so the highest time yesterday at the high school track meet for the girls, for the 3,200, and there was like 20 girls that ran, was 14 minutes and like 50 seconds.
Wow.
So my daughter, who's in 8th grade, had a better time than all of them.
Wow.
And so the coach is like, hey, we want your daughter to come run for the high school. We want her to compete at regionals and then compete at state, for the girls in the 3,200 because she did so well. And so I had to put that plug in for my daughter.
Well, yeah,
and Dan,
subtle
we
shout
want
out.
you to move back down to Long Beach because we could use some good runners
Yeah,
on our
right?
track team.
Yeah, so and you have a two young men that go to my dad's church that run at Long Beach, and one of their name is Evan, and I think he's like the number 2 whenever it comes to the 100, or either the 100 or the 200. He's like number 2 in the state, and he's really good friends with my son Quitman, and so. But anyway, I had to put that plug in, for my children with their track, and plus we were in Long Beach yesterday,
Right.
running for the track meet, which is nice. Y'all stadium, a lot of us are talking about your stadium is nice. The field, looks good, and so anyway, just a lot of good things happening.
I think this is a good transition since we're talking about school. So you've been on the school board.
Yes.
What inspired you to even get involved in that while you're working at NASA?
Yeah. Well, I get back to it's my home. And like I said, I have 4 children, 6 grandkids. I have a daughter who is a wonderful teacher at Long Beach, and her husband is a teacher at Harrison Central. So, and I've had aunts and all that were teachers, and I just want to give back to my community. I mean, I think I know what Long Beach did for me. They allowed me to get to where I am today. And I like to just get out and work with the kids and stay very involved with the future generation of our kids. And so I got in there thinking I was probably going to do a 5-year term, and I'm already on 20
Nice.
years now. And matter of fact, I just got reappointed for the 5th term. So if I were to finish out, it would be 25 years.
Wow.
But, I really think when I think back on my days as a school board member, I really think the thing that I look at the best, one of my best things to accomplish, our school district accomplished, was building the career technical education facility. There's a lot of kids that aren't college bound, and just a year to 2 years ago, we built us a continuing technical education center.
Nice.
And that's for those kids that really struggle. They're not going to be college kids, but I want them to be able to contribute when they get out of school and really feel happy about themselves that they are contributing. So I'd have to put, out of all the 20 years, I mean, we redid the high school and re-upgraded security things and at all our different campuses. And I really think our infrastructure is in excellent shape. But I think the icing on the cake was that CTE facility.
Yeah, and I agree with you because you're right, and I think we do our children, we're not doing them justice whenever we try to tell them that they have to go to college, because not every child should go to college.
Right.
There's a great, like you just talked about this, the building and this institution that y'all built there in Long Beach to help these young people that are not going to go to college. I wasn't the brightest kid in school. And so my favorite subject was PE,
Right.
and then basketball. That was my favorite subject. I was not the brightest, child. I was not going to get scholarships for college. No one was offering me a scholarship because my grades, just wasn't there.
Right.
Now I've got my children. They got their smarts from their mother. And so, but I love to hear, especially men on the school board, who make statements like that because you're right. College is not for everyone. There's a lot of great paying jobs and great careers out there where you don't have to go to college.
No, you do not.
You could make a lot of money. One of my good friends, and matter of fact, I worked for him whenever I was a teenager. I cut grass and I worked for a Royal Flush Plumbing, Darren Tishner. And so I don't want to, Darren, I know he didn't graduate from high school. I think he went through 7th grade. But today he's built a multi-million-dollar business. He has an office right here on Canal Road. He has, I don't know how many employees he has, and he's a plumber doing a great job. He didn't go to college. And then you have electricians. You have all these different trades, to where you don't necessarily have to go to college, but you can still make really good money if you're willing to work hard.
Yes.
You're willing to take responsibility and say, it's my responsibility to get up early, to work hard. You can make a good living without going to college.
I totally agree.
And so I really appreciate, you saying that, especially for our young people. We'll have young people watch this and, and some people think, well, I'm a lesser of a citizen if I don't go to college.
No.
Well, that's not true.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That's not true, because we need plumbers. We need electricians. We need welders, truck drivers. I mean, all of these different jobs out there that are so very important to our nation being able to thrive and our cities thriving. You need these type of workers.
Yes.
And you can make a great living.
Yeah.
A great living
and they
doing
can
it.
get out of school with a certificate and go straight to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make good money.
And with no debt.
And with no debt. That's
With
right.
no debt.
With no debt.
So, because I got some friends of mine that went to school. We graduated at the same time from college, and I was able to graduate from college debt free, thankfully. But I got some friends of mine that are still paying off of debt.
Yes.
And I've been out of school for, I've been out of college now for 21 years. And so, they're still paying on debt,
Yeah.
21 years later. And so, but,
And I go by the CTE building from time to time, and some of the kids that are in there have renewed interest in school because they look forward to using their hands,
Right.
and going there with carpentry, like you said, in welding and those kind of, and mechanic. So it really, I've seen a big difference in a lot of kids who would have just drifted through the rest of school. Now they got renewed interest.
Yeah.
And they're looking forward to getting out of high school and going
Yeah.
to work and be productive in society.
absolutely.
Wonderful.
I want to ask this question because we talked about business and education. How do you plan to support the local businesses that are there now?
Mm-hmm.
And Long Beach has a thriving, good business community. Of course, we're, as a mayor, you're going to always be trying to attract, more businesses.
Right.
There is a good, strong local businesses there now. How do you as a mayor plan to support those local businesses while at the same time attracting new investments to the city? Because I know it's a dual thing where you have to support what you have, which Long Beach has some great businesses, great restaurants, great stores. It's got a lot of good things going, but at the same time, you want to attract new.
Right.
You want to attract new.
Yeah, and it's, we have to work on our accessibility for these current companies as well as potential ones coming in the future. And infrastructure is a big part.
Yeah.
We've got to be prepared, and that comes through planning. You got to do a good vision plan, which I've already produced for Long Beach, and I'll be posting it out on my Facebook before long.
Good.
Links to my vision plan, and it kind of goes through those steps.
Nice.
Of how we can acquire new businesses as well as take care of the ones that we have now. And so that's a big part of, and it's all about good old hard work too. I want to get out there and I want to go find the businesses to come to Long Beach. I don't want to sit back and wait for them to knock on our door. I want to go out there and bring them to our city. And we kind of get a bad rap sometimes in Long Beach in that we're kind of known, as I'm walking around talking to people, we're known as the unfriendly business city. And
For the friendly city?
For the friendly city. And I said that, that was really surprised me. And so, I really want to beef up our planning department that we have in the city limits of Long Beach and bring transparency to the city. Have procedures and policies that we follow so that when developers come in, they know exactly what we expect of them. And I will personally work with each and every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of transparency, that's been, ever since I've lived in Long Beach, that's something that I wish we had more of, especially with even just going to the city website. You don't even have all of the city ordinances
I agree.
accessible to all of us residents there, which is absolutely crazy. You have like the number 400 and it starts from there, which is crazy. So how do you plan to keep transparency and open communication between the office and the residents of Long Beach?
Well, and that's my teaching that I learned when I worked for NASA for so long. We depend on policies and procedures. We don't wing it. We've got policies and procedures to follow. And so that's what I want to do down in City Hall. I want people to be able to find those things very easily. And so I want to bring some, based on my IT background, I want to look at what we're doing today, and I want to try to improve it. And so that it makes it easier for those people just like yourself who want to find out how to do something and it's hard to find it.
It is.
And so that I'm gonna work on that, and hopefully we can upgrade those areas to make it easier for people to work with us.
That would be wonderful. A lot of people I've talked to, that's one of their big concerns about.
I've heard the same
Yep.
thing. Sure have.
Let's take just a quick 1 minute and thank our sponsors for today's show. We want to thank Southern Printing and Pastor Sheehan. They're one of our sponsors, and we want to say thank you to them. And I would encourage you to check out Southern Printing. They do a great job whenever it comes to printing shirts, whenever it comes to printing signs, any type of printing that you need. Southern Printing, does a great job. And then, of course, if you haven't already liked the Facebook page or shared the YouTube channel or subscribed, I would encourage you to do so. It helps us whenever it comes to the algorithms of social media. A lot of times these algorithms are not very friendly, to conservative news outlets or news outlets such as this. And so whenever you share on Facebook, or whenever you retweet on X, or whenever you share the Substack, or whenever you copy and paste the link on the YouTube channel, it helps us get out our message. And especially, the message of today with mayoral candidate Tim Pierce. And so I would encourage you to share it, especially if you live in Long Beach, share with all of your friends and family there in Long Beach, because I believe it is important, for you and I to be plugged in and engaged. And so, Tim, that brings me to another question that I want to ask. And this is something that I mention every single episode. Mm-hmm. I don't do an episode unless I mention this right here, and that is your vote counts. Because I believe that it is so vital and important that everybody, gets out and votes, because your vote does count. And I believe that that is important, for people to get out and vote. And unfortunately, we have a low percentage of people. Whenever you look at the number of residents, then you look at the number of people that are registered to vote, and then you look at the actual number of people that get out and vote. I wish we were around like the 90-95%, but unfortunately we're not. I've seen us as low as 12% before in some elections, where only 12% of not the population, but 12% of the registered number of voters actually go and vote. The number of the percentage of the people that actually vote of the population is much lower. I'm just speaking of the registered voters. And so it is important. And there's always a lot of discussion and focus on national elections. And we just had, 2024, we just had the presidential election, which obviously is very important. And I love what Donald Trump is doing. I appreciate what Elon Musk is doing, with Doge and just watching and hearing and seeing. I don't agree with everything they're doing. And there's some things that, obviously you don't agree with everyone on every single little thing. But I do appreciate and I agree with most of what the president is doing. And unfortunately, a lot of the focus tends to always be on national. It's always on the national politics. If you watch CNN, Fox, MSNBC, typically those people are not going to be talking about local. They're going to be talking about national. If you watch WLOX will be talking about local most of the time. WXV talk about local. We're talking about, local today. And so most of the focus is on national politics and national elections. I wish more people would vote in these elections. Whenever you look at the presidential election, it will be a higher percentage of people will vote in a presidential election than they will vote in a mayoral election. And so why should people pay? And I've got lots of 10 million reasons why, but I'm asking you. You're the candidate. I'm going to ask you. And then I'm gonna piggyback off of what I know Ariana will have some things that she would like to add as well. Sure. But why should people pay just as much attention to their local races like they do whenever it comes to the presidential election?
Right.
Why is the mayoral race just as important whenever you look at local elections and local politics? Why is that just as important?
It is very important, because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
You start with the grassroots. And, I'm a little bit old-fashioned, but I believe in getting out and walking the roads. And I thoroughly enjoy knocking on the doors and talking to my constituents. And that kind of pumps them up that, I had a few people say, you're the first politician that's ever came to my door and had a conversation with me. And it gives me a chance to listen to them, and them a chance to let me hear what they have to say. And that really encourages them to say, hey, this guy, I think I agree with this guy. And then it kind of convinces them to vote. And hopefully we'll have a good turnout this time. So it's very, very important because everything starts at home. And so I feel like if you take your politics seriously and you care about your town, then you really, really need to take your turn and go out and vote.
You know, if you need your ditch clean,
Yes.
listen to me very carefully. If your ditch needs cleaning, you are not calling President Donald Trump.
That's right.
Like, you can call the White House and be like, hey, you know, I need my ditch clean. They're going to be like, you need to call, you know, your local councilman or your mayor. If you need your road paved, you know, unless it's a state highway going right through your town, which most of us doesn't have that, you know, you're talking about downtown's area. You call Donald Trump and say you need Jeff Davis paved or you need Railroad Street paved.
Right.
Donald Trump's going to be like, you need to call, you know, your mayor.
local, right.
I want Seal Avenue paved. I want La Rosa Road paved.
Right.
Well, you better call your supervisor if it's in the county. You better call your local mayor if it's in the city. You better call your alderman. You know, talking about the school board. If you want your schools, you know, updated, or you're talking about school security, talking about, you know, those type of things, that's all local.
Yes.
That's all local. And that affects the things that we do every single
Yep.
day.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Every day.
If you want
Yes,
to
it
save
does.
the trees in your
Right.
area,
Right.
might need to have
Right.
good
That's
candidates.
right. That's true.
If you know, you know.
Yes.
I think I missed something there. Is there something going on in Long Beach about saving trees?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's old news. It's in the past, but we're moving forward.
That's right. We are moving forward.
Did y'all save trees?
No, we did not.
Well, you know, but you bring up a good point. This Gulf Coast has a bunch of beautiful oak trees, and we just happen to have in Long Beach, and what she's talking about is a hotel that wanted to come on Jeff Davis. Well, so what had happened was, in order to place the hotel that they wanted to put on Jeff Davis, which I will say is badly needed, because that is going
It's
to
more businesses. That's
oh
good.
yeah, I think that's going to be the spinoff of that hotel. Is going to bring other boutique stores and stuff in. But you know, when you cut down an oak tree, that was the age of that oak tree. You want to hope that whoever was in charge of making that decision did everything they could possibly do to save that oak tree. And I promise one thing: when I move forward, I will do everything in my power to save these beautiful old oak trees, because that was the only thing that was left after Katrina was the oak trees. And once they're gone, they're gone. Of course, in this case, I hope they did what they were supposed to do and looked at every possible way of trying to save that oak tree. But at the end of the day, if they did that, then I understand what happened.
Yeah, and I think that whole situation was all about transparency.
Yes.
That it was a miss on the current folks, but I think that was the biggest thing that people had issues with. Yes, we want to bring in more businesses, but I was just using that as an example of it may seem minor on a national level, but to your local residents, things like that are so important.
matters.
Yeah,
It does matter.
And, you know, that subject came up a number of times talking to different people, and people are very passionate because we do have a beautiful city, and that city has many of those beautiful old oak trees, like the Friendship Oak down at Gulf Park. So, you know, you got to.
Is that the one in front of the college?
Yes.
Friendship
Yes.
Park.
Yeah.
I've had lunch around that tree.
Oh,
It's
when I was a
absolutely
teenager.
beautiful.
You know, but that kind of gets back to planning, you know, and smart growth. So you've got to look at these different things when you're doing a long range plan as to where you want your city to grow and how you can still keep the beauty in the hometown feel of Long Beach, you know, to withstand these new growth and businesses coming to Long
For
Beach.
sure.
I know in Biloxi there's a discussion right now because they're bringing in a Chick-fil-A
Oh yeah.
to Biloxi.
Are we going to get one of those?
They hadn't come to us yet.
And so
I take
they're
one though.
so Chick-fil-A, where they're wanting to build this Chick-fil-A, there are 3 beautiful oak trees.
Oh, wait for
Right.
the protests.
Yes,
So-
it's coming.
It's
So it's
coming.
already started, but I think that has already been approved and passed.
Yeah.
That those oak trees come down.
But
Yeah.
to your point, if Chick-fil-A is interested in coming to Long Beach, I would love to talk to them.
Right. Shout
Chick-fil-A would be amazing to
It
come.
would be amazing.
Yeah.
It really would be.
out. I hate driving
I
to
think it'd be a
Biloxi
great fit.
just for Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
My son works at Chick-fil-A, the one on 49. And a matter of fact, I just had a discussion with him the other day about him working more hours, which is hard, you know, him being in high school. And but I love Chick-fil-A. I love the atmosphere of Chick-fil-A and the workers. they create a really good atmosphere, of my pleasure and teaching young people to work.
They really do.
I think they
which is
give away
good.
scholarships to their
They do.
employees, so that'd be good.
And it's
They
a
do.
different level. That is a very. I mean, they've done a great job with Chick-fil-A.
Look at us getting off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need. Well, what we're saying is we need a Chick-fil-A in Long Beach.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what we're trying to say.
And so
Comment, like, and subscribe if you agree with that.
Yes,
that's
please.
right. I'd be all about having a Chick-fil-A right there on Jeff Davis, as
Oh.
long as we don't have to cut down any oak trees, I
Yeah,
guess.
Hey,
right.
there's a big empty lot. They can do
We
it.
have a few empty lots there.
Yep. Okay, so I guess getting back to it. I was looking through some of the issues you have
Mm-hmm.
on your website about what you're passionate about and what you want to do for the city of Long Beach. So what are some of those issues that you want to focus on if you're elected mayor?
Well, and I mentioned it earlier. My big drive is we've got a great bedroom community. That bedroom community has got to be supported by more business. And I think what's holding Long Beach back is just the appearance. The front door to Long Beach. It looks like we've never recovered from a hurricane. And you go back as far as Katrina. A lot of those lots have been empty for 20 years. So you'll go down Highway 90 and there's some large lots and you'll see my signs on some of those large lots because I've already talked to the owners of those lots and worked with them to say, hey, we really need to move Long Beach forward. And so I'm getting a lot of positive results. Hopefully it's going to
Good.
turn into something that's going to start putting things on those lots on Highway 90.
Yeah, that sounds great. One of them that I really liked on your website, create a walkable business community.
Yes.
That to me would be wonderful if you
Yes.
can have sidewalks where you can just easily access. And I think about the college. I have watched students that go to USM having to cross the railroad track
Yes.
in the grass,
Yes.
so just even creating walkways to get more students to want to
Right.
go there. So I thought that was a nice one.
And walkable is so important because my wife and I go to Crunch Gym in Long Beach, and
Yep.
I live south of the tracks. So we walk down because it's beautiful. We walk down to Jeff Davis, and we go north on Jeff Davis on the beautiful sidewalks, and they stop before they get to the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Well, there's so much more to offer on the other side of those railroad tracks, and that's how you build your business community. So I'm really going to look hard at how we can make it safe to go to the other side of the railroad tracks and then go east and west along railroad and start tying those different storefronts together.
Yeah.
And I think it will open up a bigger space for more business. And that's the thing I mean about a walkable community.
Yeah, I really like that idea.
Yeah.
Tim, we're getting to the end, and man, I really appreciate you coming on
Sure.
and talking with us today. But if you had sitting right there on my couch, if you had every resident, every voter of Long Beach, like every voter right there, and you had 1 minute or 2 minutes to talk to them about Tim Pierce and about what you want to do in Long Beach, what would you say to that voter in those 1 or 2 minutes?
Yeah, well, I would say that once again we have a very good school system. So I think our school system's always been in the top 10, if not the number one, a couple of years ago. We're good there. We've got a lot of new subdivisions that have come in that are top-notch subdivisions. A lot of people moving in. But the one thing that I want to promise the people of Long Beach, I will work hard on transparency. And I will work very hard on bringing businesses in because I heard the people say that, we pay high taxes.
Yeah.
And you do. A bedroom community pays high taxes. And if they can't offset those high taxes with a business community, you can't get out of that cycle. You're always caught in that cycle. So I will promise the people of Long Beach, I will do everything within my power to build the business district back up in Long Beach like it was prior to Katrina. That's where I want to go, and because we used to have restaurants, and like I said, there wasn't an empty lot, and I want to get back to those days, and so that we can help those people who are strained, and have a hard time paying taxes, and try to take some of that burden off of those people, and make it to where they don't have to go to Gulfport, they don't have to go to Biloxi, they don't have to go to Pascagoula, they can stay right in Long Beach, and use those walkable ways around town in order to do their shopping. So that's what I want to do for the people of Long Beach. And that's what I want to be graded on, is how well I did to bring business into our city.
Nice. Ariana, you have any? Ariana is from Long Beach, and she lives in Long Beach, so she would be one of your, how do you say it, the word? Constituents?
Constituents.
And
Yes.
she would be one of those in Long
am.
Beach. So, Ariana, we're going to let you end with the final question and for
Final
Tim.
question.
It's
The final
always
question.
it's ask him a hard one. Hit him
Ask me a hard one.
Ask him a hard. I think we've been very light on you
Well,
today.
well,
Okay.
That's what I say to people when I come up to their door. Ask me a hard question because I speak from the heart. And
Yeah.
when I answer you, it's really what I
Yeah.
believe. So fire away. If I can't answer it, I'll get you an answer
Well,
and get back with you.
We kind of mentioned it before, but I've just from talking with other people, I think Long Beach budget is a big concern. I think we're in the negative right now. So that's going to be tough
Yes.
coming into office.
Yes.
And already your city's in the negative.
Yes.
So I know you said you had some experience with your finance from your previous job
Yes.
and budgeting. How do you think you're going to overcome that
Well-
to make it more attractive to businesses to come into a city like this?
And it really concerns me, and it concerns me from a school perspective. So what we do, we have to compete with our surrounding cities, and unfortunately, Long Beach can't match the salaries of our surrounding communities. The good thing about Long Beach is people who graduate from Long Beach want to come back to Long Beach and they want to teach in Long Beach. And that's great, but it's unfair. And so the way we're going to, and it's the same thing with our police and fire, our safety. We have to pay good salaries to have good officers. And all this is kind of, it works together. And so, that means a lot to me going forward in doing those kind of things. And all of it comes down to revenues. And we have, I guess, got all the blood out of the tournament that we can, and we need to start bringing in business in our city and turn that curve
As
and
somebody,
move the city forward.
Yeah, as somebody who lives there, I'm a math person. I would love for the office to be more transparent about the finances going on. I think that's a big issue where it's the school, public safety, the peer. Like, we need transparency on what's going on. Why are things being slowed down? Why are we getting one thing and not another? So I think that's very important.
And that's, with my background, I think that I will be able to help you and make and help the people of Long Beach feel better about how we're spending our dollars.
Yeah.
Because it is all about return on investment. You can't just go out and spend money on people's roads and things like that may or may not really need to be paved. But because you know them, you do those kind of things. You can't afford to do that anymore. You've got to make sure that every dollar we spend has a return. And I did that with our school after Katrina. Our fund balance was going down because we lost a lot of children and things of that nature. So what I did, me and the school board, everything had to be justified. Everything had to be considered as what is the return if we make that investment, because we didn't have much to invest. And lo and behold, when you really start looking at it, like Trump's doing now, we found ways to save money that wasn't the best way that we were spending money. And so and as time went on, the fund balance started to increase, which allowed us to do the modifications to our school. So I've got to get in there and I've got to figure out how we're spending money and making sure we're spending money on the right things and making sure that we're planning for the future so that when we have issues that come up, they should be on a priority list somewhere, and we should know where they rank, and so that we're spending the money wisely.
Tim, thanks for coming on the show today.
Sure.
We appreciate you. Ariana, I've enjoyed our conversations today.
I feel like I've gotten to know you better, so that's good.
Hopefully it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys watch today's show, if you haven't already subscribed, I would encourage you to do so. And of course, if you haven't already shared, excuse me, if you haven't already shared the Facebook page, please do so. It helps us as far as getting out our message. And of course, today's message. If you live in Long Beach, share today's podcast with everybody that lives in Long Beach so they can be more informed whenever they go in and vote on April 1st. And then once again, of course, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Southern Printing and Pastor Christian, for sponsoring today's show. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great United States of America.